We've had so many people. Even this weekend, we had one of our very early customers come in. I was in the back and I saw him and went up and said hi and remembered his name. And now he has a 5-year-old son. And he's like, I can't believe that you guys are both here. Because I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. There is no price for that.
Welcome to The Profitable Table, fed by Woolco Foods, the nation's first podcast devoted to the restaurant industry. Now, here's your host, Woolco Foods CEO, Stephen Toberoff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Profitable Table, fed by Woolco Foods. And this is an episode I've been excited to have for a long time because not only are we going to learn an awful lot, but I know we're going to have a great time. My guests today are Deb Weiner and Peg Williams, the owners of Sugar Sweet Sunshine, an unbelievable bakery in New York, an institution really downtown in the Lower East Side. Their flagship store is 126 Rivington Street in Manhattan. They also have a store in the Essex Street Market. Deb and Peg, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and speak with me today.
Hi, Steve. Thank you.
So let's just jump right in now. And can you give me the backstory as to how Sugar Sweet Sunshine came into being?
Well, we had both been working in a bakery as a survival job while we were pursuing a quote-unquote career in theater. And we just loved it so much that we always remembered the fun that we had there. And then fast forward a couple of years, we both found ourselves at a crossroads in our respective careers. And I was out of work, and Deb was working at an ad agency, and I needed something to do. And I was kind of ready to give up acting, but I still wanted to do something creative and fun. And I was living in Park Slope at the time, and I'm a runner.
What year was this?
Oh, this had to be 2002.
Okay. All right.
Or one.
It might have been the tail end of 2001, beginning of 2002.
Yeah. And I went on my morning run, and I just happened to run past a vacant storefront in Park Slope. And something made me stop and peer in the window. And it was an adorable little space with a hardwood floor and a little fireplace in the corner. And it was just very quaint and welcoming looking. And I said, wow, this would make an amazing bakery. And then something just clicked. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that night, I called Debbie, and I told her my idea. And I said, do you think I'm crazy? And she said, no, absolutely not. I've always thought that would be fun to do. And I hesitated a second, and I was like, well, would you want to do it with me? And she said, sure. And that's pretty much how the journey started.
So that's kind of like almost the quintessential story that so many people that have dreams of opening a bakery or a restaurant have. They go past the perfect space. They're at a crossroads in their life. There's something that's going on, and they say, we're going to pursue a dream. But the difference between you guys and so many others is you've turned that dream into an unbelievable reality, which has been sustaining itself for so many years and growing. So you ran past the spot, you decided to go for it. What were the beginnings like in terms of now you're pursuing this dream and the challenges? Did you come across a number of unanticipated challenges? Were there moments of frustration, or were you just so excited by the process that you were engaged in that things just started to grow and have momentum?
Well, we definitely had some obstacles thrown at us. The biggest one being that neither one of us really had much of a nest egg to contribute to this great idea. And so we had to figure out where to get the money to do this. And we pursued looking into a small business loan, and we worked on a business plan for quite a while. And while we were doing that, we sort of met a couple of people that let us test out the waters and bake in this space over by the water, like where Chelsea Piers is, before Chelsea Piers. And so we kind of worked on our business plan and did a little experimenting over there while we looked for a space. And during that time, we actually saw this space that we are in at 126 Rivington, and prematurely reached out to the landlord and said, hey, we want to open up a bakery and we like this space, but we can only pay this much money. I was like, this is all we can give you. And of course, at that time, we actually didn't even have that money. We didn't secure a loan yet. And if you fast forward a year, I think it took us to get our small business loan. We then reached out to the same landlord and said, hey, we're finally ready to rent the space. And P.S., we still can only give you this much money.
Well, that's another amazing thing, because I remember, because we were in Manhattan since 1987. We didn't move to Jersey City till 2004, but that was a very challenging time because it was right after 9/11 and downtown had been hit very hard. So in a sense, I mean, you guys at the very beginning are showing an extremely high level of courage and faith, because that part of New York had really been hit, going into it without even knowing the financing, but it's just pursuing the dream, which is incredible. And it turned out to be something that was really the right thing and the right time to do it, because shortly thereafter, things did turn around for downtown.
Yeah, I mean, one of our obstacles, just to back up a moment, was here we were, two young women trying to make a name for ourselves, and we had no history, no credit. Wilco actually said, sure, we'll let you buy inventory from us. And before we opened the store, we literally would go to the warehouse in Manhattan and pick up like a 50-pound bag of flour or sugar and bring it back to my East 30th apartment where we were baking out of.
One of the things we were always very fortunate at Wilco, particularly in our downtown location, was I remember when Magnolia Bakery first opened on Bleecker Street, and this is probably going back to around 1996. It was a similar situation in the sense that the original owner, whose name escapes me now, it was her and a partner. Her partner wound up having another bakery, Little Cupcake, I believe was called Uptown. But in any event, they also came to the dock and picked up merchandise as well. And that's another interesting thing, because at that moment in time, let's call it from 1995 up through 2002, and I saw this from my end of the business, there was a real sort of explosion in bakeries coming on the scene. When you guys were formulating this opening, were there any particular items or any aspect of the baking process that you guys felt highly confident in, one aspect of it, or was it something that was being developed as you went along?
Well, in terms of our abilities, we had no confidence because neither one of us had ever baked before. So that was another challenge to overcome. But we did believe strongly in the power of the cupcake as a viable product that people would love, that people have always loved. And we kind of started from there and kind of tapped into that nostalgia that everyone wants to feel when they think of certain desserts. And that we had confidence in.
Yes, you had confidence in the concept, and your timing couldn't have been more perfect. But that's another great aspect of this story, because everything at your beginning is really showing an unbelievable level of faith, but also just vision. I don't want to say limited experience, but you, to use your own words, there was
no experience.
So no experience, no super confident in anything, no location, and yet it's all clicking. And you guys are now really, I don't know if the word's institution, iconic, whatever. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this is one of those signature bakeries that people all over New York go to, and downtown. Talk to me a little bit about what the first couple of years were like and how you transitioned from the very beginning, and how things evolved from there. And at that point, were there things that you really sort of found were working and you sort of doubled and tripled down on them? Or was there constant new experimentation with what you guys were doing?
Well, in the early days, there was just me and Peg. And I think we can safely say that the amount of time and hours that we put in, there are lapses in my memory as to, what actually happened, because we worked so many hours, the two of us, day and night. For the first, I want to say 6 to 8 months or so. And we did bring in somebody just to kind of help us out because things started to progress pretty quickly. And one of the things that we always believed, and we still to this day believe, is that the reason why we are successful and have been a success is because the two of us are on the premises. One of us always, and two of us every single day. And that has made a great distance in the business. And in the start, it was 102 hours a week. That's what we did. We did the baking, we did the cleaning, we did the icing, we did the everything. And we did that for several years.
See, I love that because that's where the rubber really meets the road in any endeavor that people go into. And that's the part that people need to hear, because I could imagine some of our listeners who are aspiring bakers or restaurateurs, and they're saying, oh, this is great. And they did that career shift and they did this. But now it's like an old saying that I've heard, the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. And that grind of doing 100-hour weeks, it just so happened that it was 6, 8 months or whatever it is. But when you're in the middle of it, because I've been in that situation myself, especially when we moved back in 2004, and you're almost in this zone where there's no stop and start of days, and you're just working on what's in front of you, and it just goes, and you don't know when it's going to end, and then at some point it does. So now you're open and things are starting to pick up. And I know that the initial item that we were talking about were cupcakes. And I know, fast forward to today, you guys do custom and wedding cakes and a whole host of goods. Mm-hmm. But what was the process like in terms of selecting what other goods to add to the lineup as you evolved with the bakery and that sort of selection? Was that something that was driven by your customer base? Was that something driven by you guys, a combination of both?
Definitely a combination of both. Some things were just circumstantial, like we've really built up our pudding selection. We started with banana and what we call our chocolate bomb. But there was one day the batch of chocolate chip cookies got overbaked. And instead of throwing out, I don't know if we were doing 4 dozen or 8 dozen back then, but a lot of cookies, we decided to integrate that into a pudding. And we'd had a case of butterscotch pudding sitting in the basement that we weren't using. I don't remember why we even got it. So we said, hey, let's just mix it with this and whipped cream, and that was it. That's like our second most popular pudding now. And it's my personal favorite. But there have also been some ideas that customers have come in like, hey, maybe you should do this. And sometimes we take the idea and fly with it, and sometimes, it's just not its time.
That's a great story, because so many times I've heard from chefs and bakers and mixologists that a creation that becomes a signature element of a business is something that really happened serendipitously, where there was an unforeseen event and somebody, and it prompted a reaction, which is terrific. Now, I know the area where you guys are very well, and it's a phenomenal part of New York. And I guess you could say this about all of New York City in that it's changing. How have you guys evolved with the neighborhood, or conversely, has it been a situation where the neighborhood evolving has sort of been immaterial because of what you are offering? It's so timeless that it's just been something that's been a part of Rivington Street, Lower East Side, and the evolution of that area has been non-impactful? Or conversely, have you found that you've adopted some of your business practices to accommodate some of the changes that have been going on around you?
No, I don't see that we really have changed that much from our initial plan. We're still doing, and I think we believe that we do what we do, and we just do the best that we can of it. We're not trying to make ourselves into something new or different, because the neighborhood still has enough of the old school the old school feel that now has like a new mix coming in. We see it with new businesses that are opening around us that have a different look or feel. But I get the sense that those new businesses are looking at us and our longevity and maybe taking a cue from us on how to make sure they connect with the neighborhood and not just tap into the people that are just coming in for the day.
I'm sure that that's correct. I interviewed the owners of Veselka restaurant a few months ago.
Yeah, I know Tom.
You know
yeah,
Tom.
I know Tom.
So is Tom and his son Jason, and actually they're going to be opening up in the Essex Street Market as well.
Yeah.
It's a similar dynamic in that the focus on what you guys are doing and what they are doing, there's a timelessness to it. And you're right, the new places that come in, they're looking at others and they're saying, how do we maintain that longevity, that relevance? Perhaps even more importantly, I mean, I know you guys are just a huge part of that neighborhood as they are. And this is something actually very common. I interviewed Tavern on Jane for our last episode. Similar, they've been in the West Village for 25 years. And no matter how much things change, I think actually you could even argue that, at least from what I'm seeing, things are going back to a place where people desire that human connection, that authenticity more than ever. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. There are always going to be those customers that will insist on me or Deb to be that person they interact with. Even though we have an awesome staff, they still are getting something from the interaction with one of the two of us. And it's not just like, oh, I need to go to the top and they're going to get it right. It's not quite that. But yeah, I think everything is so digital now, and we still answer the phone. We don't have one of those press one if you would like to place an order.
It's funny.
Or, an 888 number.
Right. We're just very old school. And I think people like that.
I think people love it, and it's smart. For what we did at Wilco is for many, many years. I mean, the whole phone tree thing had been around forever. And we were one of the last people to adopt it. And we only adopt it in the most primitive thing because we always have people on the phone as well.
Yep.
And also our entire staff is bilingual, which for my business is very important. So I completely agree with you. One of the other things which you guys do, which I also do, and I love it, and I also have a business partner, Robert Krivlin, but one of us is always here pretty much. I mean, I love coming in every day, and I just think it's, I don't know if it's habit or if I love doing it, but I can tell you this much, it's incalculable the value that it creates for the business. Forget about my own life in Richmond. It's incalculable for the value that it creates for the business when everyone here sees the principal coming in every day and being fully engaged and loving it,
Absolutely. We've had so many people. Even this weekend, we had one of our very early customers come in. And I saw him. I was in the back and I saw him and went up and said hi and remembered his name. And now he has a 5-year-old son. And he's like, I can't believe that you guys are both here. He's like, I said to my wife, I wonder if they're here. And he's like, I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. There is no price for that.
There's no price for that, and it's one of the key elements that's essential in a retail type of business. If you don't have that, I don't know, is e-commerce a big part of what you do, or is it an add-on to the brick and mortar establishments, the Essex Street and the Rivington Street?
It's definitely a chunk of our business.
Yeah, that is something that we've had to evolve with. It took us a while to sort of not succumb to it, but it needed to be a part of our business because of the way people are doing business now, the way customers are ordering things. While they still want to come into a store, it's just so much is done online.
But I think it gives you guys, and I know for a lot of other restaurants and bars and hotels we do business with, but maybe more acutely for bakeries, I think it gives you an enormous advantage over companies that just start first with the e-commerce presence, because when you're layering it on top of your established retail and your brick and mortar and all the things we discussed, then you're just accommodating demand. You're not looking to generate that demand. Like we have a mobile app, and I think all businesses have to evolve with the time and innovate,
Yes.
but that's different than saying, okay, I'm just going to be an online only bakery, because believe it or not, we had a few of those who were very substantial. And you would think, okay, so they're doing this and the world's becoming more digital. And the ironic thing is, guys, is those are the ones that are having the most difficulties sustaining and
Right.
scaling their business.
Because there's no connection.
Right.
Who are you connected with?
No, you're absolutely right. No, 100% right. Especially bakeries, and you guys tapped into nostalgia. The whole thing of the experience of shopping, like we're sort of on this e-commerce thing here, but I think it's interesting because there are things that I will only buy in person, and not because of the price and not because of anything, but the experience is more valuable to me. So for example, my middle son's big into baseball. There's a store not too far from where I live that just specializes in baseball equipment. All of these things I could buy online, but I love going in there and talking and finding out what's going on, and you're engaging with the people. And so the whole experience is so valuable to me that I look forward to going in there. Just buying the equipment is a small part of it. And I know that that's the case with your business and so many other businesses that are entrenched in the neighborhood. You cannot put a price on that.
No, you can't.
What would you say is, again, I want this, and this has already been tremendously valuable for people who are listening, but what would you say is the top 1 or 2 important lessons you've learned in business that you would have liked to have learned sooner?
Oh, boy. This is tough.
That's a tough one, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's funny because the success that you guys have enjoyed and the evolution and the growth, people that are not in New York City, they don't understand how difficult it is and how rare it is. And so I always like to see, just for my own edification, not to mention the listeners, to sort of reverse engineer it and give that type of value where people could say, wow, that's amazing,
I don't know. I guess I feel like we learned things when we needed to learn them. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I'm like kicking myself that I didn't know.
I know.
That's actually a great answer, because you guys have been just so immersed in the process that there's a seamlessness to it. And I can relate to that too. I very rarely take the time and sit back and deconstruct, because in business, how can you ever know anything until it's actually occurred? You learn as you go along. You got to plow the field that's in front of you.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know that this is a difficult question, but I'm going to ask it. I know the answer for myself. It's your cupcakes. But which item of all the delicious items you sell is your favorite, Peg and Deb? What's your go-to item in the bakery?
I love the chocolate chip deliciousness and the cupcakes too.
Now, you guys have been at Rivington Street for a very long time, which I know. When did the Essex Street Market store open?
Just this past May.
And how has that experience been? I've heard great things. I have not been to that market myself yet. I have to get in there and go. But how has that experience been thus far?
It's different, and it's a challenge in operating 2 locations. And some people might think, oh, but it's so close to your flagship store. That doesn't make it any less difficult. Right now, we have not started baking in that facility yet, so we are just like doing everything at the flagship store. So trying to coordinate how much to bake on a daily basis to keep it fresh and keep it going, not run out of anything. It's strategic every morning.
I didn't ask Tom or Jason this when they were on, but what made you decide to actually put a store in the Essex Street Market?
Oh, well, that kind of happened
organically.
Yeah, we applied more than 3 years ago to get into the market before it moved. We wanted to get in so that we could move over with this new market. And ironically, they rejected us. They didn't accept us. And fast forward 2 years or so, they then went on to put another bakery in the old Essex Street Market. And one of our employees that worked in the market one day came in and said, hey guys, this bakery, they just up and left. And now there's nobody in there. And I got an email one day that said, hey, you want to be a vendor in the new Essex Street Market? And I said, well, what do we have to lose? Let's send them an email that says, sure. And somebody called us, and I said, we applied a few years ago, and they were like, you're a bakery. And I said, well, yes, we are. And they had already designed this new market and the space for that bakery that backed out. So now they had a brand new, shiny space for a bakery and no bakery. And in walks Sugar Sweet Sunshine.
Wow. Another great time to capitalize on something. That's awesome.
It really was the right time. It just happened the way it was supposed to. We look at it like that. We didn't necessarily go looking for it because we had already been rejected. But all of a sudden, there it was. And it seemed to be the right time because for years people said to us, why haven't you guys expanded? When the market was exploding, cupcake shops were opening everywhere, left and right. Everybody kept saying, why aren't you guys opening another location and blah, blah, blah. And it just never felt right.
That's really cool. I can't wait to check it out. I think the Lower East Side, for me, I remember when I was a kid, my father would take me down there. This is in the, let's say, late 70s, early 80s. And we would get some food at Russ and Daughters. And they actually had people selling all kinds of things outdoors. And so I think that they've now got this indoor Essex Street Market. There's something about the Lower East Side that needs that market, even if it's innovated to the 2019 vibe. And it certainly needs you guys a part of it. And I'm glad some of our other customers are a part of it as well. Believe it or not, we have a lot of listeners that are not from New York City, but listen, either they're in the business or they come in. And I would just say to them, your Instagram is SSS Bakery. The website is sugarsweetsunshine.com. They're at Facebook on Sugar Sweet Sunshine. And if you're coming into New York City and you want to have a real, authentic, fun New York experience, you have to go to the Lower East Side and you have to stop in at Sugar Sweet Sunshine. We've had the honor of having you guys as a customer for a while. And every time I speak to you, it's always fun. I'm uplifted. And I've never had an opportunity to really talk to you for this amount of time and learn about the beginnings. And it's just incredibly impressive what you guys have done. It really is.
Thank you.
Is every day this much fun for you guys? I mean, because every time I speak to you, you guys are the most upbeat. Is that just, I guess, living the dream? Or just your personality?
Every day is an adventure, for sure.
It is, Steve. We really do have a lot of fun at work. And we take it very serious because the people that work for us, we take that very serious. That we have to make sure we're doing our job on a daily basis to take care of them. But it is a lot of fun. And sometimes I really do wonder if our staff just looks at us and it's like, those are our bosses.
I mean, it's a good thing, but I'll tell you this much. I mean, I think enthusiasm and joy and loving what you do, it permeates the culture of any type of company. And the fact that that's how you guys are every day and that you're having fun. The one part of this company that I spend the most time making sure that they're happy and that everything is good for them are the customer service team and the sales team and the drivers, because they're the ones that are interacting with our customers.
Yeah.
And so by you guys communicating that to them, they're going to communicate that to their customers as well. It's just like, hey, this is a bakery. We're going to give them great product, but we want people to have a fun, memorable experience. It's not easy to create that, and it's absolutely not easy to replicate it and sustain it. I really appreciate you both taking the time to speak with me. It's an unbelievable story. And really, for people who are coming into the city, you've got to check it out. For those of you who live in New York and you've been there and you're thinking of starting a restaurant or a bakery, I think this is an episode worth listening to again because we've had a lot of fun and it's been awesome. But there are some very tangible, concrete lessons here that I've taken away from, and I know other people would as well. So this has been really incredibly informative and enjoyable. And I thank you both again. And look forward to stopping in and seeing you guys at the Essex Street Market. Now I've got you there. I've got Tom. We've got a couple other people, and it'll take me back. So have a great day, guys. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. And Don't you know that Christmas card will be going out?
We look forward to it every year. We put it up. You guys have the best Christmas card. You guys, I have to say this. I might get in trouble, but I don't care. Out of all the customers that we have, the one Instagram page that I always look forward to is you guys. I don't know if you noticed me commenting on it, but
yes.
Your stories, your everything. It's a great page to just display what you do, but it's a fun page. It's SSS Bakery, and I always look forward to it. You do a great job on social media, and I look forward to the Christmas card, and I know everybody else here does as well.
All right, Steve,
thank you guys. Have an awesome day.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Well, that was an unbelievable episode. We had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot, and I thank Deb and Peg from Sugar Sweet Sunshine. The book that I'm going to recommend this week is actually a book that I just finished, and I think it dovetails very nicely into a lot of what we talked about in this podcast. And the book is called Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Fertitta. And Tillman Fertitta, if you don't know, is the owner of the Landry's Restaurant Group, as well as the Houston Rockets. And this book is a very fast read, but it's a very actionable read. He shares with you the lessons he's learned. And for me, it's always good to refresh oneself on the fundamentals and pay attention to the fundamentals. If you listen to Deb and Peg and the fact that they're always in the store, one or both of them every day, and all the other attention to details, it's easy to lose sight of that. And ironically, it becomes easier the more successful you are, but it's actually the key to your success, and to never lose sight of the fundamentals and to just get better and better at them. So again, if you guys have any books that you could recommend to me, please go to woolcofoods.net, go to our podcast page, The Profitable Table, recommend it. If you enjoy this podcast and you're getting value from it, I would love it if you would subscribe to it. Love it if you recommend it to your friends. We're available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you get podcasts. Or you can go to our website at woolcofoods.net, and we have the full library of podcasts there. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a great, great day and an awesome week, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Profitable Table, fed by Woolco Foods. Please be sure to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. And to learn more about Woolco Foods or Stephen Toberoff, please visit us at woolcofoods.net.